take us through then kind of like fast forward to that moment where you're kind of like, all right, I'm done. And
Mm,
I need to walk away from all of this. Was this again, I know you were saying initially like it was part of that intuitive hit. Was it just
yeah.
like after an instant? What kind of led you to those decisions?
Well, I talked about this moment with Kanye on my TED Talk, where basically after a couple of years of being friends and me putting him on MTV, there was a moment on air where basically, to summarize it, you can watch the TED Talk if you want to hear all the blow by blow on it. But
Yes. Oh, we'll put the
basically,
TED Talk in the show notes for sure.
that was a moment that really disturbed me. It like was deeply disturbing to experience such a miscommunication and to feel like my friend was no longer my friend after what happened live on television on account of some of that miscommunication. And so it put me into a real big question around what exactly were we doing as media? What exactly were
Mm-hmm.
we doing? Were we being exploitative and trying to get clicks more than actually impact culture in a positive way? And so it became that deep for me, even though now I look back on it, it wasn't really that serious. I could have definitely isolated that incident, but it was part of a bigger picture for me where I did experience the kind of culture that was not necessarily altogether what I thought it would be. You know, when I look back, I see that there was a moment when I was walking through the halls one day on the way to rehearsing TRL, and one of my producers pulled me aside because that day I decided to blow out my afro and
Oh,
truly have like a pro black, quote unquote, pro black look for the first time.
mm-hmm.
Like I'd had this very accessible curly hair up until that particular day. But that day I decided I'd like Questlove, blow out my
Yeah.
afro and like really just rock
Yeah. I
that. And
remember Questlove.
so this particular producer pulled me aside and he asked me, do you think that's a little bit too black for this show and
Oh,
for
wow.
you?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know how to respond to him. I was shocked that he would even say that. And so I remember on some level being really impacted by that and wondering, who am I working for?
Yeah.
This was an executive producer of Total Request Live at the time. Like, who am I working for? What's going on here? Really? Like, am I basically just a house nigga?
Mm.
Like, for anyone who knows,
Wow.
you know, the issues of America and slavery and the dynamics, you know, back in the day, it would be the darker skinned
Yep.
would be out there picking cotton in the hot sun, and then the lighter skin would be in the house and serving tea and have a little bit more comfort. And there I was
Mm-hmm.
feeling like a house nigga. And
Mm.
ultimately, all the executives at MTV were white men, and yet somehow the
Yeah.
culture that was actually creating the interest in the network was all driven by brown people.
Yep.
Interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
these are all the things that led me to just feeling a little disenchanted and a little bit less than fulfilled and a little less than empowered. And of course, you know, I'm not a victim to it, but at the same time, it's like, do I really want to continue in that building where I don't really feel like I belong, actually? So it was a lot of things
Mm.
that I think were actually subconscious. Like if you'd asked me at the time, I would have probably just chalked it up to, I'm just not feeling it. I don't know if
Right.
I could have articulated at the time, but now looking back on it, makes a lot of sense.
Wow. Wow. And I think that, for you to articulate it in that way, so metaphorically for everybody to understand, it's so poignant to what's been happening over the
Mm-hmm.
last few years.
See you next time at the Brave Table.